Are you in compliance? Got an upcoming audit? Want to make sure you're satisfying all the requisite controls? Well, hey, worry not. AI Query's got you covered. Let's pop into the tech and show you exactly how. All right, so I've been asked a couple times about compliance and how AI Query can help with compliance. So the overarching kind of statement here is that AI Query, given the robust stateful visibility it provides, can help assess where you fall within the controls of any given compliance mandate. So specifically, it's not necessarily saying, yes, this is solving this requirement, but what it's doing is assessing where potential gaps within your compliance and your actual controls exist and saying, hey, this needs to be rectified. Sometimes you might be able to do it directly within our console via live shell. Sometimes it may be a different tool. Or the flip side is that if you have those controls in place, this will help prove it with the data sets so that when an auditor comes, you can say, yes, I have met these mandates. Here's the proof. So that's the general gist. But then I get asked about specific forms of compliance, and I am most certainly not a compliance expert, but I can write queries pretty decently, plus the help of AI doesn't hurt at all. So I figured why not actually make some out-of-the-box query packs to help assess certain compliance mandates broken down by the specified mandate. And so the one that I've been talking about with a few individuals recently is CMMC Level 2, which closely aligns to NIST SP 800-171. So what I did, being a crazy person, is downloaded the full NIST SP 800-171 Revision 3 PDF and have been going through the slog of the 120 pages and writing queries for each one of them. And I'm not completed yet, right? At the time of making this video, it goes beyond 3.8, but I've made a number of query packs, which you can see here, that kind of try and break down each of the specific mandates. So a lot of them are variable based on your actual environmental requirements, right? Like it can be here are the controls required for XYZ or by certain auditors. But these are generalized based on kind of what I was going through and where those align to help prove some of these components. So there are a couple of really cool ones. In particular, I do like some of these right here for the audit and accountability, as they are very heavily utilizing the Windows event log mode that we had talked about in prior videos, helping extrapolate some critical insights from the Windows event log very simply in one centralized location. But in this one, let's talk about the configuration management. I think this is pretty helpful. So you will see that what I did originally is I kind of made Windows and Mac and Linux all in one. I should probably break those out into their own query packs. But without further ado, so again, query packs are running sets of queries concurrently on a device. So let's go ahead and hit edit and run query pack since this is out of the box. Just right there when you start, quick, easy value. Nice little description right here, mostly written by ChatGPT, but then I added in the actual breakdowns of what it's looking for. So let's specify our Windows devices here specifically and go on. We can see the queries again if we want to alter them. Let's say we want to remove some of those Linux specific ones which I tagged or anything of that nature. You can very easily do that, but we'll just leave these as is. We'll get errors on those, but that's expected. Then we'll hit preview. Again, kind of final check. Hey, is there anything we want to change? Nope. We'll go ahead and we'll submit. And we'll go ahead and check out the results. So then over here, we're on the query pack results page, and we can see the specific one we just ran right here. So if we check it out, we can see we have a number of queries. If we expand this out to 50, we'll see some results starting to pour in. Again, as you can see, Linux, Mac OS, it's expected those are failures. We don't even really need to look into them. We know that the actual tables utilized are for those specific operating systems, and I queried this against Windows since the majority of these here are Windows. But if we refresh right there, we can see all the results have come in here. So there's a couple concepts behind the actual configuration management, and one that I thought was interesting that we hadn't talked about much is kind of the baseline configuration controls. So right here, you can get a kind of snapshot of what's in your environment from an application standpoint by looking at the programs table. So this could be a helpful inventory, right, to kind of track back to. So for any sort of future changes or anything like that, you can get kind of the brief overview of what exists in your environment. And the same premise holds true if I go back one more and I go over and I check out something like Windows services. Let's see what services exist on that machine, their current state, any applicable user accounts. And then I can continue further by actually looking at some of the one thing it's specified in actually some of these mandates is configuration settings for 342, specifically as it pertains to Windows registry configuration settings. So you can look for things like RDP being enabled, which I know I've actually showcased in prior demos. RDP is disabled, RDP is enabled, but other things like what's the secure boot status of the device, or LSAS being run as a protected process. Is it being run as a protected process? No, it is not. Maybe we want to add that additional hardening mechanism to help with least privilege and just overall hardening. Blank password auth over the network, as we can see right here. It's actually registry key value, so it's not possible, which is good. There's that least access, least functionality, which I tried to break down within each of these. And if you actually look at the individual queries for each of them, I do give a description of both what the query is doing and also how that maps to the mandate. So again, a lot of work to do, and if you had specific ones of interest, please let me know. But want to give that kind of brief overview with a more practical, tangible example of how you can create query packs, or how I can create query packs for you, stick them in there out of the box so you have to do even less work to quickly assess your environment. So that's kind of what we have here. The one other thing to mention, as we've talked about before, is if you have any of these and you want to actually run them on a recurring loop, what you can do is you can go over, edit the query pack, go over to preview, and then set schedule, which I do have to select devices. That's on me. But I'll go over and I can schedule it to run on recurring intervals so that I'm not actually just doing the compliance check and making sure I'm in compliance at the time, or like scrambling a week before I know I'm actually being audited. But instead, I'm having this run every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at a set interval. So I have historical documents of proving the compliance over time. So that's AI querying compliance. Hopefully that was helpful. If you had any additional compliance mandates you wanted to see, or thoughts that I can make query packs around or sets of queries around, please let me know. Always happy to create whatever if it's potentially valuable. And yeah, check out our LinkedIn and our YouTube for additional videos, and stay tuned for some really cool stuff we got going coming out probably next week. So thanks everyone. Have a great day. See ya.